Fortnite Chapter 6 is ending in less than a week, so today I'm going to rank every Chapter 6 season on a tier list and go over all the pros and cons and give my personal ranking of how good it was. So hit that like button and subscribe, and let's get right into it. For Chapter 6 Season 1, I've got to start with the map, because right away, this felt like a breath of fresh air after Chapter 5's, well, quite frankly, disaster of what it was. This is easily my favorite Season 1 map we've ever had so far, and it's not even remotely close in my opinion. The biome balance is nearly perfect, every region has its own identity, its own color scheme, and more importantly, its own reason to exist. When it comes to POIs, I genuinely believe that this is one of the richest maps we've ever gotten in terms of variety and layout. There isn't a single location I actively avoid or dread landing at, which is honestly kind of rare for Fortnite maps. It feels like every spot has loot potential, rotation value, or a strong gameplay loop to keep landing at, making this map one of the strongest aspects of this season. Now, let's talk about the loot pool, because this season came with a full reset, wiping out everything from Chapter 5, which, thank God, and introducing a batch of brand new weapons. And I've gotta give Epic some major props here. In terms of design, most of the guns felt fresh and enjoyable to use. My personal favorites were the Hollow Twister AR and the Precision SMG, which both felt clean, accurate, and rewarding. But this is where the first major flaw started to show for me. The Hollow Twister was good. Like, way too good. When you compare it to weapons like the Fury AR, the Oni shotgun, or the Searchfire SMG, it wasn't even a contest. The Hollow Twister, the Sentinel shotgun, and Precision SMG straight up dominated the meta the entire season, making anything outside of that trio felt like a throwaway pick. Speaking of shotguns, it also had major issues. The Sentinel shotgun completely overshadowed the Twinfire and One shotguns, which just could not keep up in a real fight. The others just felt like early game picks at best, to be honest. And when one gun clearly outshines the rest without question, the overall loot pool balance just takes a massive hit. The season also included two new masks, the Fire Oni mask and the Void mask. The Fire mask was something I tried a few times, but it just felt kind of underwhelming. And the Void mask was one of the best mobility items Fortnite has ever introduced. Whether you're using it to escape a fight, gain instant high ground, or rotate, it was insanely versatile. If you weren't running the Void mask this season, you were putting yourself at a severe disadvantage. We also saw the return of some familiar items, like the explosive repeater rifle and railgun. Those landed pretty well, but not every unvolt hit the mark sadly. The return of the Ranger assault rifle felt completely pointless when the Hollow Twister already dominated the assault rifle category. Giving us one of the weakest ARs in the game did nothing but clutter the loot pool in my opinion. And then we had the kinetic blade returning, with durability. Honestly, that sucked. When I saw it first come back, I was really hyped to try it out again, since it hasn't been in the game since Chapter 4 Season 2, but the durability addition actually just killed my excitement for this weapon. Like, they took a great mobility tool and made it just feel less fun. I will never understand why Fortnite keeps doing this. But none of those issues compare to the Typhoon Blade. In a game heavily centered around gunplay, having a melee weapon that completely dominates fights with minimal skill requirement was just unacceptable. It broke the meta and became one of the most complained about items all season. Bosses were actually handled pretty well this time around. The Night Rose boss and Shogun X boss were both visually great and really fun to fight. The Night Rose's medallion felt pretty fairly balanced, but that was not the case with the Shogun X's medallion. Infinite tactical sprint with invisibility during sprinting made this thing overpowered as hell, especially in zero build. If someone had it and you didn't, good luck killing them. We also got playable Godzilla, which also sounded really cool on paper, but in execution, Godzilla was like one of the weakest bosses we've ever had, to ever feel impactful at least, so that was just kind of mid as well. So overall, I'm placing Chapter 6 Season 1 in a mid B tier. The map was incredible, mobility items like the Void mask were really fun, but the season was really dragged down by the major imbalance issues, especially surrounding the Hollow Twister and the Typhoon Blade, which made the loot pool irrelevant. Not a bad season at all, but definitely not amazing. Now, let's talk about Season 2, starting with the loot pool. This season's loot pool is heavily focused on the red dot assault rifles. However, almost the same issue from Season 1 transferred over to Season 2. The collateral damage AR got added in the season, and it could be good in close range, but when it comes to long and mid range, it stands absolutely no chance. Because why would you not use an AUG or a hollow twister? Because they can at least be good at any distance. When we eventually got the twin mag assault rifle, this was proven even further because 3 out of the 4 assault rifles in the season had red dot sights. As for shotguns, there was 5 of them. Holy god. Alright. The pump and dump was terrible at first, but the buff made it at least decent. The Sentinel, which is still the best by far. The Outlaw shotgun is just the double barrel shotgun. And later in the season, we got the Infiltrator shotgun, which is just objectively mid, let's be honest with ourselves. The Scoped Burst SMG did nothing to the meta, so it's not even worth mentioning here. And the sticky grenade launcher can go jump off a bridge and it is a brain dead item. I will never hear anybody out on this weapon. This weapon sucks. I don't want to ever see it again. The new sniper was actually pretty balanced this time around and didn't trump every other gun in the loot pool. Then the Mammoth pistol got added, which pretty much negated that. There was also 12 brand new exotics, and I was very concerned about them. More specifically, the explosive Mammoth pistol and the hollow twister, because a Mammoth pistol that could explode? I was having nightmares about that, man. But luckily, the exotic Mammoth had bullet drop, which literally makes it worse than the mythic or really any other rarity. And the stats of the exotic hollow twister are pretty much the same as a green or a blue rarity hollow twister to compensate for its increasing fire rate. However, when it comes to the mythics, that is where I have an issue with this season. You see, they added back the Brutus's minigun, which, okay, interesting choice there, Epic, I guess. Then they brought back the Midas's drum gun, but instead they gave us a first-person version of it, and you can just imagine how that went. I didn't have many issues with the Mortal Kombat items. Scorpion's item was pretty much just a chain of Hades with a longer reach. The kneecapper is this season's melee weapon, and I don't care what anyone says, this is a Control-C, Control-V of the Typhoon Blade. They both accomplish the same role of being a rotational melee weapon, but unlike the Typhoon Blade, I actually have beef with this item so much more than the Typhoon Blade, you have no idea. And that's because you can keep spamming the charge attack, which gives the little Timmies in your game an easy kill on you 9 out of 10 times they keep using it. Now let's talk about the map, and honestly, I kinda love it. Outlaw Oasis is a little place on the side of the map which could be contested at times, which honestly tends to be really fun in my opinion. Shiny Shafts was also really good because the grind rails were a nice addition and made it way more fun to get around. Lone Wolf Lair. I don't take many issues with this POI aside from the actual hassle it is to navigate. Like, I feel like I'm in Lavish Lair again. And Crime City, not gonna lie, I kinda like it despite how small it is. And also, I am a huge fan of the Gold Rush water and the Gold Rush rocks that were in this biome. And just Gold Rush in general is amazing. As for the medallions, the shield medallion is perfect. I wouldn't change it at all. The Scorpion medallion was just a little bit insane, to be honest. 20 extra damage is a lot more than most might think. Overall, this season had great POIs, pretty solid medallions that didn't feel game breaking, of course, and fun gameplay mechanics. But again, it had a really annoying loot pool, so I'm gonna give this season a high C tier. Not bad by any means, but I wouldn't call it great either. Galactic Battle. Alright, now let's talk about Season 3. I think this season's loot pool is really solid. Having the ARs free from the chain of the red dot sight meta was super huge for this season in my own opinion. The previous Fury AR was now very viable. While yes, the Fury AR isn't as good as the Spire Rifle for example, that doesn't mean you couldn't win against someone that has the Spire Rifle. With the red dot assault rifles being vaulted from the season, it makes for a very healthy step up from Hunters and Lawless for the AR meta. Another gun they added was the Kill Switch revolvers, and I'm not even gonna lie to you, they are extremely fun to use, but are pretty difficult to use at the same time. For utility items, we got the tracking visor, which could mark anybody in a large radius, and it does not have durability, which thank the Lord, but it also could be a bit of a problem because you just keep spamming it with no real downside. Also, the way sprites work this season, specifically these dash sprite, is a change that I am a huge fan of. Yeah, you get 9 total dashes, but at the cost of an item slot and the fact you need to throw it down to get them. This, in my opinion, is way more balanced than the dash medallions we have had in the past. The Mist Gauntlets, I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it, they were extremely stupid and OP, as you could just hold it close to some structures and deal damage without having to aim. As for medallions, Core's medallion is relatively harmless to be honest, but with that being said, I'm pretty divided on Dialga's medallion, as it gives you a significant reload speed boost and passive shield regen. And I'm mixed on this because I am not a fan of the shield regen part. You gain 1 shield every second up to 50 shields by simply just existing, which, why? Why is this a thing? Why does Fortnite keep doing this? Next, I want to talk about the new mechanic that was introduced this season, which was the hero rank system. And I'm not even gonna lie, it is awesome. It's something that actually keeps you engaged throughout the match, which also helps with the new hero chest. These two in conjunction makes for probably the strongest and well executed part of the entire season in my opinion. And the fact that it makes boons the most useful they have ever been the whole chapter, I seriously cannot stress how much I love this system. It's easily my favorite part of the season, and it's not even remotely close. This season had these spiders added on the map, which was something to do in relatively empty areas to get the new exotics. But what I love about these exotics is that they are not game breaking, because let's face it here, the unstable grenade is probably the worst exotic they have ever made. Another thing that was added were these little underground academy labs that were scattered across the map, and they contained pretty solid loot for being just little landmarks on the map. Supernova Academy is definitely the standout location that was added this season, however, and I kind of love it. The superhero training is probably one of the best ways to rework the vault system that has been drowned out by the stupid keycard system, like, oh, kill the boss, take the keycard to the vault and open it. That whole system has been drowned out, and I'm super glad that this took it over. While the way to open the vault is really easy, it's probably one of the more engaging and fun ways to open a vault. Demon's Domain is also just another POI I actually really enjoy. I know people say they had a hard time navigating this POI, but in my opinion, I had no problem at all navigating this POI, even as a zero build player, so this is just a win for me, I guess. As for mobility, we had the base boost, and yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and ignore its flaws, especially when it comes to structure damage, because this was just kind of ridiculous. The other mobility items like the surf cube and the mist form I also really like. I did find the mist form kind of annoying to fight, because as soon as you cracked someone, they would just use this and get 4 seconds of invincibility and run away. Other movement items that were added was the Robin Grappler and the pom-poms. The Robin Grappler is pretty much just a reskin of the Batman grapnel gun and became totally useless after the grappler bug got patched that allowed you to skip the glider animation, and the pom-poms turns you into this beast wolf thing, I guess, and this I had a bit of a problem with. While I thought the damage output on this item wasn't that great, it still gave ratty players a free out and allowed them to turn the tide of a fight just because they had this item and you did not, which I think is really dumb. Overall, I'm gonna give this season a high A tier. The hero rank, vault, and chest systems are excellent in my opinion, and the map changes, while small, were just enough to feel different and impactful. And while I do think the movement items were great, I just think they had way too many cons, so I'm fairly mixed on them. And finally, let's talk about Chapter 6 Season 4. This season had way more significant changes to its loot pool and map over its lifespan than any other season. For like the first 2 weeks of the season, we had pretty much no red dot ARs, which I actually really love. And I think this is actually one of the best AR loot pools ever. The 3 ARs we had were the Hammer, Fury, and the new OXR rifle, and they were all really viable to use. But the OXR rifle was my personal favorite off launch. Then we had stuff like the Record Revolver. Oh buddy, how do I talk about this gun? At the start of the season, it was easily the most busted gun in the entire game, as it hits as hard as a pump shotgun and had the range of an assault rifle. And also, at launch, you could double pump them. Now let's talk about the medallions, and I'm not even exaggerating, these are probably the most busted and unfair medallions we have ever had, and that is not even an exaggeration. I genuinely have no clue to this day how they even made it past playtesting. Now, 2 weeks later, they did nerf the Record Revolver from being OP as hell to just really good, and you can no longer double pump with them, so that's a huge win. And they also nerfed the medallions, and even with the nerfs, they were still really OP. So that's why very soon after these changes, they just straight up vaulted the medallions. And while I did have fun with the medallions, they had to go because there was no way these were staying all season. One of the themed weapons that were added was the Bug Blaster, and while I think it was just a little bit too easy to use and its AoE was kind of ridiculous, this weapon was really fun to use. But overall, this loot pool was not balanced in the slightest, as the Wrecker still became the best AR, shotgun, SMG, sniper vehicle in the game. The Swarm Strike was easily the most unfun gun to fight this season, as it could just one-tap you even in zero builds, and the Shockwave Launcher made it so easy for everyone to just run away and never fight you. One thing I really love about this season is it kept the hero rank from last season and became the OXR rank, but it's pretty much just a hero rank. Sadly, the Volt minigames were gone, and it was damn near impossible to hit S+ this season, but its biggest changes was having the OXR pods land nearby you, and not having to go search around for hero chest. Also, the map is, alright. I didn't really like the bug biomes at all, to be honest. It made a good portion of the map feel super unalive and grainy. As for the POIs, I didn't really care for any of them, maybe minus the little OXR outpost on the side of the maps and OXR HQ. But one thing that actually kind of made me upset is that they massacred the vault system. Once you hit A rank, you could head over to one of the vaults and unlock it, and inside it would have a random exotic out of these. Not only did this make rat players much more common, but once you're inside, there is no way out but where you came from. So players could just easily hold you there until you are forced to rush them. Aside from that, I really don't think there is a single bad exotic from this lineup, maybe minus the SMG, because the Eradicator OXR I think is one of the most powerful assault rifles ever made. And yeah, let's not even talk about the exotic wrecker. Now after a good while, they just straight up vaulted the entire season. Wait, what? Yeah, they literally vaulted the entire season related to the bugs, revamped the POIs, moved his mythics to the vault instead of the exotics, and completely abandoned the theming of the season, which honestly, this really boosted the season in my eyes. This map looked great once again, and the bugs were finally gone. Also, I forgot to mention the shockwave hammer got added to the loot pool, so that's a big bonus. Now, how could this possibly go wrong? Well, they completely destroyed the meta once again. They added back the Hollow Twister and MK7 back into the loot pool. And while I think the MK7 is pretty balanced nowadays, the Hollow Twister is very much not. This means every other AR is pointless to use. Don't get me wrong, I really like the OXR rifle and Fury a lot, but you're not gonna outdamage someone with a Hollow if you use them. So it just kind of ruined the meta in my eyes. The mobility around this time was also pretty solid. The OXR helicopter was a really balanced mobility vehicle with no BS guns attached to it or anything. It was just strictly mobility, which is how it should be, and the roly-poly. It was an extremely cute and adorable and very fast movement item. When the update that released on October 2nd was when the season's quality really started to improve. The K-pop stuff wasn't broken at all, the sword was not annoying, and the ramen healing item was very good. Then we had this year's Fortnite mirrors. Aside from these POIs looking amazing and being super immersive now, they serve a good purpose, which is kind of what you need for a map to be good in the first place. The Scooby Snacks are actually really awesome and are a really good healing item too, and also the sound effect when you're running with them is like the funniest thing ever. This update honestly felt like a brand new season in a lot of ways. Even items I thought were going to be broken, like the Ghostface item or like the Doja Cat whip, aren't broken at all. And the Ghostface mask was really served as more of a movement item instead of like an attack option. Overall, I'm gonna give the season a mid B tier. I think if the season had a stronger start and middle point, it could have been good by not adding back the red dot ARs and not having the Wrecker revolver dominate the entire season. But the Fortnite mirrors event and the map changes throughout the entire season honestly kind of saved it from going into C or D tier for me. And with that, that is my ranking for every single season in chapter 6. Honestly, this chapter overall, I'd give about a 7.5, maybe 7.4 out of 10, or a high B tier. But let me know in the comments if you agree with my rankings and which season you personally like the most. Hit that like button and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video.